happens to have Christian Murege, head of asset management at Stanbic Bank Kenya, is our guest. 50-30-20 rule. What's that?
Thanks, Eric. So that's a guiding principle. You don't have to apply it absolutely, but it's just a guiding principle. And it starts from the aspect where you have to look at yourself individually and look at what are your sources of revenue, what are your sources of income. Is it employment? Is it tenants paying you money? Is it a side hustle? What have you, whatever business. So that we call the inflow, okay? Now, at any one time, you want to make sure the outflow, the tap is smaller, like just in your normal tank at home. The feeder pipe is big, but the tap is smaller. That way, the tank is always almost full, okay? And that's what we talk about, the surplus. So today, I think we can focus on how to manage the outflow, where we spend our money, and that is called budgeting. And I did say our Financial Fitness Academy, which is run by my colleague called King Ori Gadinji, it is actually a very instrumental educational platform on literacy where we can actually teach the attendants how to manage their money. One of the things we do about budgeting is first we have to ask you, where are you spending your money? Do you keep receipts of where you spend your money? So as a starter, I think Latif, start now, okay? Whatever you spend on Friday, keep that receipt.
You only headache.
Receipt. Keep whatever expenses. Nowadays, the good thing, we have M-Pesa to show you where you have spent your money.
I don't want to look at those statements, my friend.
But it is a discussion you'll have to face.
Why? Why is it important?
It is important because, Latif, our expenses are categorized in 2 or 3 broad areas. The first, we pay for our needs, okay? You can't do without it.
Yeah.
You got to put food on the table. You got to take your kids to school, isn't it? You got to buy medicine, get healthcare if you don't have, okay?
Yeah.
Put a roof over your head. Then we have a second category called wants. Wants are things that we do for lifestyle, okay? So if you take I won't mention brands, but if you like a favorite coffee before you come to the office in the morning from a particular outlet, as opposed to making it from your house, that's a want, isn't it? You could have done it at home. You can get your coffee grinder and what have you, make your own coffee, or rather, even buying lunch, that's a want. You can pack lunch from home, just like giving examples. And then finally, there's the issue of saving, okay? So the 50% means from my net earnings after taxes, I should not spend more than 50% of my net earnings on needs. That should cover everything, school fees, what have you, okay? Then the next 30%, and this is where we say there's a green area, depending on your personality, those are the needs, okay? I mean, those are the wants. So the 50% are the needs, 30% are the wants, and then strive at any one time, however little it is, put 20% aside, okay, of whatever you put. Yeah, and I'll come to that. So depending on where you are on your lifetime earning cycle, you could reduce your wants and increase on how much you're allocating on your savings and investment, okay? I can see Muga looking at me. I just want to show him that in the Asian markets, they save as much as 60% of their after-tax income. 60%. And I'm just talking about 20%.
sherehe is a need.
But also,
so that's the guiding principle, Latif.
now, the needs are impacted by very many things, right? So you need to pay school fees. For many people, because of the school that you want your children to go to, then it also impacts where you want to live, okay? You live there because you want to be closer to this particular school that you prefer for your children, okay? So it's all those things are adding up. You'll end up finding that if you want your children to be here and you're paying this amount of school fees, and this is the kind of rent that then you must pay, and then this is the kind of bills that then you'll end up having. This is where you work, and so you need a vehicle, you need to fuel your vehicle. And this 50% will not cut it.
Thank you.
So you find that many people are doing 80% on need, 20% on sherehe, saving. Mungu has to save.
So I think one item you've actually pointed there, education is important.
Yeah.
We are, especially our middle class in urban areas, we're held captive by the so-called bougie schools.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
So because of that, Also, it takes you to a Buji area to be closer to the school, and you find out easily that 50% is going away. But let me throw it back to you. What happens to the kids who come from far-flung areas? I think we have kids from Marsabit, Turkana, Lodwar in the University of Nairobi. They still made it there. So I think my guiding principle, let's not be held hostage by the concept that the higher, the more pricier the private school is a direct correlation to success in life. In most instances, it's not. Character, metal is developed from hardship, actually. And you'll see, look at your crop of politicians.
Those ones
Half of them, I think, are from hardship areas. Very few are from Buji. I just mentioned just top of mind, even corporate leaders in business. So there's no direct correlation. It is good. And I think from where I stand, it's a bit of what we call having what the Joneses have, okay? Peering over to the neighbor because he's going to XYZ school, I must measure up. And that's, I think, one of the fallacies.
So that stops being a need and becomes a want. So it's a very grey line
It's a
there
grey
between
line.
But is it
need
It's a
and
lifestyle
want.
issue, I think.
Is it really a lifestyle issue? Because how then do you decide that when a parent wants the best for their child is a lifestyle issue?
Because it could be coming from that hardship that you speak of, and you say, well, what the parent went through, they don't want their child to go through, and so they will make sure that they have the best.
The point is this. If your income does not allow you to go to that private school and you're borrowing to even stick to that school, what happens the moment you lose your job, you lose the source of income, you get unwell? We saw that in COVID.
Yeah.
And I think we should not lose sight of that.
Yeah.
A lot of parents did realize that they cannot sustain that false promise, and they did take their kids to lower schools. Many government schools actually ended
Got
up
a high
getting kids from
enrollment.
private schools.
Yep.
I sit on a board of a public school, one of the biggest public school primary schools, and our entry level has been abnormally high. Till today, people are still bringing kids from private schools into the academy every day. I sit on the board of a school called Ololwa Primary School in Kajiado, and definitely we see those numbers every day.
You see, what you're saying is true, but what we're dealing with here is the aspirations that parents have.
Yes.
And to meet those aspirations, many parents go beyond their means to achieve those.
Absolutely.
It's a simple reality.
It's absolutely.
And when you say borrowing, many parents plan, save in a circle, planning. They borrow once a year, they pay. Then they spend a good portion of that year repaying back. So yes, COVID was a calamity. It is not the norm. It's something that happens once in a while. But the effects are still with us. I'm simply saying that everything you say is absolutely true. And it's something that one must aspire to. But the moment you touch on education, or then the moment you start touching on healthcare, it'll break that budget. In this country,
It's the reality of the economy and the country that you're living in.
Yes.
In some of those Asian countries that you're talking about, some of these things have been taken care of, right? They are state funded. There's a proper social protection program that runs. School, just let your kid get out, go to that school. That school is as good as the school in the next neighborhood, right? Healthcare, you're sorted. Because your tax, and you're talking about net, here coming to 50, 30, 20, it's net. What was taken by tax has sorted out your healthcare, has sorted out your school, has sorted out very many things, even in the neighborhood that you live in, and the kind of atmosphere that you have. Then now you're left to deal with the needs. What are the other needs that you have? Oh, rent, this, and the other. It reduces the needs, but here, our needs, even garbage, falls in this category of need. Watchman, need.
you know something.
Water.
Water, need.
Something as
50%.
Something as simple and as straightforward as just even food, for instance. If you look at countries like Malaysia and what have you, and look at the policies the government has and how they go about producing their food, it is extremely inexpensive to eat in those countries. It is not expensive at all. In fact, you get shocked at what food costs.
Absolutely.
See? So again, it is possible. What you're saying is something that ordinarily would be ideal, but what rocks this particular boat is, to begin with, how the government manages the money that they already collect from us in taxes. Because that is what is supposed to have given us the foundation on which what you're saying then becomes very simple and very easy.
Absolutely. I agree with you, Muga. I will not purport to speak on behalf of government and how they use their taxes.
Don't worry, leave that one to us.
You do a very good job on that. Yes. But I think the safety nets, the social systems like education and health do actually come from that angle where the taxes we pay are pulled together and the governments of the day can invest in education, which is affordable. I went to a public school in my days and it turned out well, I think so. Okay. And most of you actually, I believe so.
We did go to public school.
Exactly. Exactly. So what has happened, I think we've had a population explosion of late. But our investment in infrastructure, our investment in education, our investment in healthcare has not been at the same pace. I think in the 80s, we had a population of something to the tune of about 25 million or so, maybe 30. Yes. We're now almost touching 60. I think when you do the next census, we'll be above 55 going to 60.
Yes.
But has the infrastructure changed? You can see the kilometers of roads are still the same, though the cars have increased. So even to the primary schools, and especially on account of the FPE, when the FPE came through, we saw the public schools inundated, and truth be told, quality went down.
Yep.
Teacher to student ratios went up. And that's why we saw a mushrooming of private schools, okay, from that time, especially secondary schools and our primary schools. So there is that actually need, because you want the best for your kid. You don't want a teacher-student ratio of 1 to 100, 1 to 20.
Yeah.
You want something like 1 to 40. Those are called the ideals. And for that, you got to pay. That I agree, okay? So you can take the SACCO loans, and actually most of the SACCO loans end up paying school fees because private tuition is not cheap. But even with private tuition, you can get your price point, okay? And you can live around that price point. Till today, I think there are people who come all the way as far away as from Machakos because maybe their family lives there. There are good schools in Machakos, and he commutes to Nairobi and back to Machakos at the end of the evening, a distance of about 60 kilometers. I know people who come from Naivasha, come to Nairobi work and go back to Naivasha the same day because it's cheaper there, their family is there, maybe they have another business there, and he's the only one coming and going back even by public means. Yeah. So it's a way how you look at your situation. Stop looking through the fence about the Joneses.
So deal with your own reality.
Everybody, Latif is the reality. You're running your own race.
Yes.
You're not running Du's race. Yeah. You're not running Muga's race. Okay? So look at yourself, introspect yourself, and say, what is a need here? What is a want? And how much can I put aside? A key issue, even as we do about planning, this is only one angle. Retirement is a real issue here in the country. I think the income replacement ratio, one of the measures we use to see how well people will retire, we have one of the lowest. Internationally, best prescribed, and I know Charles might have a comment on this, they say you should have actually 70% of your last income level, okay? So if you're on 100K, try to retire, and your nest egg should be giving at least 70K to continue the lives. If you're under 100K, if your last salary was 100K at the time you're hitting 60 or whatever retirement age, you should have accumulated 70% of that in an annual basis, okay? So that you can continue the lifestyle that you're enjoying. Short of that, you become a dependent. And some of us do not have dependents. Or some of us even, the dependents are still depending on you.
Yep.
And it continues a vicious cycle. So you find very many people who are, whilst in employment, they're okay, living a good standard of living, but after retirement, you see it dwindling down. Affording a Panadol becomes an issue. Healthcare, as we have said, is not keeping pace with the growth in population. So your Panadol, which you are getting free from your dispensary, a few
now
years
costing.
ago, today it's costing you.
Yeah.
It's out of pocket, okay? And that's reality. You go for an operation, it's will be much more expensive next year or 10 years from now than it is today. Until now, we sort this issue of the healthcare, and you can see what's happening with this new proposal that came into effect first. I don't know, and I don't vote on
That's
that.
not deal.
But
So,
ideally,
Christian,
costs will continue going up.
At Stanbic, like you're saying, you
Yes.
have this academy, and you
The
said
Financial
that
Fitness Academy.
Mr. Kingori is there to teach people,
Yes.
to get people to have this 20%, so then the 20% people can come to you.
Correct.
And you show them how do we now use this savings of yours into investment, into growth.
Correct.
Okay? Yeah. What are the challenges that you two face when you're dealing with customers? Is it so easy to convert people into actually going into the 20%, into getting the 20% and the discipline of it? What are the hindrances to this? What are the barriers?
I think some of the barriers have actually just come out now. People say the cost of living is too high, I can't manage this, I can't manage that. But I did say the first point is to look introspectively and see how much you're spending per month. Nobody likes to look at that message, okay?
Yeah.
But once you realize there's some things you spend on the sherehe, can I reduce it now to once a week instead of daily? Kenyans are daily sherehe people, okay? Just go to all the outlets.
Yeah.
Maybe change it maybe to Friday once or something. That's how area you can save that 2K or whatever it is. Put it aside. And you'll notice it starts snowballing. It starts building up. And the good thing about putting something aside is that however small it is, it could be 500, 1,000 shillings. The moment you see it building up, it motivates you to put more. Just like when you're paying debt, one of our lessons on how to reduce debt is a method called snowballing. People have borrowed Fuliza here, they have done things, they've taken a Shylock, they have circled everything. We tell them, start. Our running call as asset management is financial freedom is possible, but you cannot be financially free if you have the yoke of debt choking you every day. So how do you get rid of this yoke? One of the ways we say is snowballing debt payment. So tackle the smallest debt that you have, okay? Once you have tackled that one, the one for your Kashailok or Mama
Maliza
kiosk, your motivation to pay the next one,
Yeah.
okay? You knock that one out. Then you go to the bigger one. And slowly, whatever you have saved from those ones by reducing that cash flow, you can actually start now paying down your bigger ones. For example, your mortgage, okay? There's a standard that comes out of your month. But did you know that you can look at your contract of your mortgage when it's debited? On that material day, if you add money to the principal account, it reduces your principal and automatically resets the calculation of the remaining interest to retirement. Okay? That's one way. So you can put this money in your money market fund. Your bank debits your principal account on the 30th. So pull your money out on the 29th. I give you back. And on the 30th, you pay down your principal amount. Now, principal amount is okay to pay. But if you look at a typical mortgage, and I wonder how people survive with mortgages of 20% currently in the current scenario. A loan of 10 million, you'll easily end up paying easily 50 million over a period of 20, 30 years. 50 million. 40 of that is interest, isn't it? Because your principal is in the 10. So the idea is to pay down your principal so that you pay less of the 40.
You reduce
over
the
time.
interest.
You get a windfall, your hustle, reduce the principal on that particular day because for the month's already calculated. So those are the kind of tips we give. And I can see Ndu is taking notes.
Of course.
I think you'll send me a check for that.
Don't even worry.
Yes,
So then how do you say you're getting to the point, Christian, when you're creating wealth?
So wealth starts from savings. We've budgeted, isn't it? We've got the surplus.
Yeah.
You save. So now you invest. After saving, you invest. Okay? So what is your goal for investment? Okay? You want to generate things we call passive income, depending on your stage of life, or growth income. Okay? So when you set up a money market fund, depending, like let's say you're 25 years old, straight from university, you have no business building apartments. You should be growing your money for retirement, more aggressive investments. Okay? You can see what has changed the last 10 years. For example, if you're in those stocks like Nvidia in the US, those stocks that have disrupted the markets, you invest in the themes that are emerging. Right now, artificial intelligence is a theme. It will stay there for intermediate time. Some companies will be disrupted totally, okay? Equity funds are very nice for a person who's younger, okay? So I'd advise, if you're a young person, 25 in university right now, start investing in a money market fund and then take advantage of equity funds, okay? Locally and abroad, okay? That way, you get your money increasing at a faster pace, okay? A case in point, Nvidia just this year, I think, has done over 200%. Over the last 3 years, I think it's done 10 times. You've 10 times your money. So the power of stock markets is that, okay? I know some of our youth prefer the cryptos, but cryptos, I think, in as much as they've had good times, sometimes those are speculative because
And
the substance
forex
underpinning
trading.
it, and forex trading, the substance underpinning it is not really here nor there. An ideal investment should have a cash flow. And you'll tell me maybe gold does not have a cash flow, but gold is perceived as a safe store of wealth, okay? But ideally, your best investment should give you a regular cash flow, and that's how we evaluate that investment and see the price. So you look at the cash flows, we do something called discounting and get the present value and see what will this stock be in 5 years' time, 10 years' time. How do they fare in the market? Are they market leaders? Do they have a moat around their business? Is it easy to enter? Those kind of dynamics. So
In
stock
Kenya,
market.
in Kenya, when people think investment,
Shaba.
precisely. So that is a direct challenge to everything that you're saying.
Very good.
How do you get people to understand
Soil is wealth, Bwana.
Kabisa.
Soil is wealth.
You're speaking to the converted, okay?
Come order.
Yes. How do you get people to understand? Yes, it is. But what you're offering is just as real.
As the Shambas.
Yes,
Very
and
good.
your money is more accessible with what you're suggesting than with that piece of earth that you've acquired.
Very good.
Yes.
So there's no issue about property. Property is actually a very good store of wealth as well, especially if it's in the right area. Okay, we do see a flurry of plots being sold. I think from the 2015s all over the peripheries,
Everywhere
where
in
nothing
Kenya.
really much will happen. And people have actually bought those 1/8 somewhere as far as Busia, somewhere near the border, not near the road, but intended. And you wonder what will happen to those ones. Why won't you instead invest in what we call real estate investment trusts? Okay, they invest in an underlying basket of properties, and they're tradable and easily convertible to cash. Remember, your investment should not be a dead asset. When you need it back, it should come back to you. So it's very hard to sell some of those plots. I can see some of them have been in the market for years, especially if they're small and they're not strategically placed. But a real estate investment trust, and there are 2 or 3 in the market listed, you actually get an underlying asset that is investing in properties, and you get a cash flow, and you can actually sell it and get a price discovery because you can get a buyer, very liquid. So on that point, I do agree, Muga. Property has been one of the key pillars people have put for investing, okay? But I think I'll challenge you also. Look at the papers on is it Mondays, on the back
Options.
pages. They are very filled
Christian.
and very hard to liquidate.
Someone's asking, how do they come and talk to you?
Thank you very much, Latif. So that's what's bringing this towards at least the end. If you're a Stanbic customer, it's as easy as dialing *208#. I repeat, *208#. You go to option number 9. It will say Stanbic Unit Trusts. Select number 9. It will then tell you to accept our terms and conditions. You say yes. And then it will ask you about data privacy. If you're a customer, we already have your data. We won't be asking anything else from you. Your ID, your KRP, we already have that. So it automatically picks from our core system. Then from there, it guides you to choose the fund. Do you want a money market fund? Do you want a fixed income dollar fund? Okay? So if you want the dollar fund, you must have at least $1 savings with the Stanbic Bank. And if you're not a customer of the bank, we encourage you to visit your nearest branch. You can actually open an account online, but have the documents that they require, and your account will be opened, and within a few hours it will be active, and you can now start dialing on *208#. It's as simple as that. We have made it very affordable. 1,000 shillings for the Stanbic Money Market Fund, $100 only to join the Stanbic Fixed Income Fund. And from there, you started your investment journey. It's a linchpin. You can now explore the other options that we're going to bring on board. We have a pipeline of very good investment solutions, our capability. We have offshore solutions, we have private wealth solutions, and we are happy to get as much as possible through your partnership with Spice FM and our listeners today. Thank you very much, Eric.
Thank you, Christian. Christian Murege is the head of asset management at Stanbic Bank Kenya. He's been our guest. Keep it here. News time, 9 a.m.